This episode of Divine Providence, the podcast, is brought to you by Cactus AI, the best essay helper for students.
This is Avid Mindsetter, and you're watching the Divine Providence podcast.
A frenzy in Friartown.
Behind the crossover, quick release.
Oh, baby, and the foul. Woo. Offensive rebound for Watson.
32 seconds, shot clock differential about 14 seconds. 3-point lead.
Who run shit like me? Top 5 basically. I still play for keeps, ain't no fantasy, hey.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to episode 17 of Divine Providence. I'm your host, Matthew LeBeau, along with Mac, as always, and Dr. Sergeant Eduardo. The season, we're in the dog days here, especially because of just how things have been going. Not a lot of fun to watch the Friars right now. Tough loss at Butler. Almost pulled it out. A little bit of a comeback. Gentlemen, how we making out today?
Leb, I think you hit the nail on the head. This Friars team has not been fun to watch recently. And it's a lot of almost. This is going to be the season of almost when we look back at it.
Yeah. Eduardo, how about you? I think you said you're in the Taco Bell drive-thru. Maybe did you pull over to the side? You sipping the old Baja Blast, or what's going on?
Listen. I'm not a UConn fan. Let's not make assumptions here. But I may or may not be in the Taco Bell drive-thru line right now.
Yeah, I mean, you can't go wrong with the old T-Bell. Doesn't necessarily make you a UConn fan. I was gonna say a Taco Bell fan. Doesn't necessarily make you a UConn fan. You know, you can go somewhat healthy with Taco Bell. You know, I would say comparatively, McDonald's, Burger King, like you can piece together a meal that won't like set you back thousands of calories. You know,
I think they got those chicken bowls now too.
Yeah,
Famous Bowl.
Yeah, I don't know what it's called.
It's like a
Or is that KFC?
Fiesta. No, that's the Famous Bowl's KFC.
Mm-hmm.
Taco Bell has like their own like Fiesta menu, so like they're being a little more, you know, like whole food oriented, like, you know, real chicken, things like that. A little more like
sure.
Chipotle vibe, you know.
You mentioned Baja Blast. Can I start this episode off with a little bit of a hot take?
Yeah, please. Yeah.
I think I want to preface. I think Baja Blast is a good beverage.
Okay.
I think it's a little overhyped.
Yeah, I don't hate that opinion. Honestly, I'm a Baja Blast Zero kind of guy. So like I like that Taco Bell has the Baja Zero. I think it's delicious. But yeah, like I think I'd rather have maybe a Mountain Dew. To be honest, and I'm not trying to sound like a hardo. Like I think just water sometimes is the best because you can have as much as you want. Like I need a lot of liquid, you know. So like water is good. But the Baja Zero is pretty solid at Taco Bell. But they also use the paper straws. So, but hopefully,
Jesus.
Yeah. But Trump, I think he's fixing that. So,
Mac, personally, I think that's a horrible take. Me, only soda I drink is Baja Blast. I think that's the best soda out.
Okay, and I can appreciate that, and I can appreciate that as men we can have our differences. I don't know. I just think, and like I said, I think it's good. Just might get a little too much love. I think that's my stance on it.
yeah, I think that's fair. It's not a bad soda. It's just not necessarily, you know, very, very hyped. And I think that this conversation here kind of really is basically a good way to kind of describe the Friars season, because I think we kind of want to talk about anything but the Providence College Friars. So if we're talking, you know, Baja Blast, then I mean, I'm having a good time. If we're talking about, you know, Wesley Cardette falling off the face of the earth, then I'm not having a great time. But you know, that's our obligation. So we will talk about that a little bit. First and foremost, obviously, we had the Butler game. Ended up, like I said, being a close game. There were some bright spots. Corey Floyd had a really good game. So shout out to Corey. Any other bright spots that you took out from, that game?
As much as I'd like to, there's not really much that looked too promising. A lot of the same as far as Oswin not being able to stay on the court as much as you'd like. Foul trouble is a thing. And then guys like Bonk and Eli don't necessarily match up well with a guy like Andre Screen, who's not even that dominant to begin with, but just the style of play was very hard to counter, I guess. The only other bright spot I'd say is Rich Barron. Rich Barron lit it up and basically followed up MSG Bree's performance. Where we at? Hinkle Dicky B.
Hinkle Dick.
Hinkle Dick. Hinkle Dicky B flows out the tongue well, but Hinkle Dick we like. But yeah, he lit it up. What was he 7 for 10 from 3? He looked like the Dicky B that we all expected coming into the year. Obviously, he's fought with injuries and hasn't been able to stay on the court too much. But that was the lone bright spot outside of Corey Floyd for me.
Yeah, and I totally just forgot about Mr. Barron's performance. I mean, I think that Rich kind of got robbed of a season this year. I'm not saying that he's would have been necessarily like the biggest difference maker. I'm not sure where this team would be if he never had the shoulder thing, and then he had like some concussion problems. But definitely he would have helped. I mean, he's got a great body. He can shoot. Obviously, he improved his shot from last year. I think that he just fits Kim's profile pretty well for what he's looking for. So I do have a little bit of confidence in Barron's career kind of moving forward here. Like, I hope he stays. I think he could be a good, 4-year Friar, and he should, junior, senior year, get some pretty decent minutes.
Yeah, I mean, it looks promising. And, we've talked at the beginning of the year about how Kim's offense is live and die by the 3. And, you'd hope he's a 4-year Friar if he could shoot like that. I mean, you need guys that can hit shots and that you feel comfortable if they have an inch of space, you feel comfortable having them take a shot. And Rich Barron, at least on Saturday, looked like that guy. Just felt confident. You've joked about my praise for Noah Locke. I think I'm starting to realize, Noah Locke, Jabri. I really like Friars that can shoot. And when you feel comfortable with a guy like Hinkle Dick stroking that thing, it's a recipe for success in an offense that Kim likes to run.
Yeah, I mean, that might be our best nickname. We've had some good ones come out of the show. But I think Hinkle Dick is got to be up there. That's
solid. That's solid. I like that.
Yeah. It's so good. I wouldn't be surprised if he transfers to Butler, just so people call him Hinkle Dick.
Yeah, so he can run with the Hinkle Dick thing. NIL, man.
Yeah.
Listen, capitalize.
Exactly. And that's really the kind of day and age of college basketball that we're in. I think, I was talking to some people today in a group chat, and I mean, we're going to lose some guys this summer, so kind of speaking of Barron, obviously I hope Barron stays. I think the market for Barron will be a little less because of the season that he kind of has had with the injuries. But there's going to be pretty much everyone on the roster is going to be approached at one point or another by, another agent or team or something like that. And no one's really safe. So it's good to obviously maintain positive relationships. And that's always kind of tough when you're losing. I think one of the things that stood out with the Butler game is we saw Kim and Oswin kind of yelling at each other. I've heard that this is not necessarily the first occurrence of this. When you look at guys that you don't want to transfer, I think Oswin is kind of the number one guy that comes to mind. And being a freshman and just the overall size, ability. So, I mean, do you guys feel that maybe we might see some really surprising transfers this offseason?
Obviously, like you said, Oswin is one of those guys, top of the list, you would hope not to transfer. And usually, in a normal season, we're mid-February, we're not even thinking about this, concerned about it in the slightest.
Yeah.
Like, hey, we got 8 more Big East games and then the Big East tournament and hopefully a tournament bid. That is not the case this year. So I think it's natural for anxiety to set in, and you hear these reports come out and you see these things, happening on the bench, and your natural instinct is to just worry. I am at least trying not to think too much about the portal, but like I said, it's natural. I have a short list of guys I feel confident just based off vibes, which basically means nothing, but based off vibes that will stick around. Like I feel confident in, but again, man plans, God laughs. We don't know what's going on behind closed doors. So, I don't know. It's just a worrisome time, and when there's not much meaningful basketball going on, it allows more time for worrying, I think.
Yeah, you're probably right. I mean, I think that you look at those things, and we do have more time to think about it because, like you said, I mean, most of the time we'd be thinking about the next game being so important. Instead, our minds are like, all right, we're thinking about next year, and then with next year, you're thinking about, all right, who might we lose? Who might we get? Right. So, no, it's definitely tough. That's the tricky part though with college basketball nowadays is like a guy could be so happy, but if the money isn't right, then he's gone. Like he could have such a great situation, and then he just blindsides you with a transfer. So that's just kind of tough this day and age.
And that's kind of, it's just, it's, everyone says it. The NIL era right now is so hard to navigate, and you don't know what's what, and people are finding loopholes in these rules, and none of the money's public, and just there's so many varying factors. And I feel like a boomer saying like it is kind of ruining the sport, because you're right. Like you could have a guy who's in a great situation. He's put in 2 or 3 years with this program. They're on the an upwards trajectory. Another good season, guy could be looking at a pro career. But at the end of the day, money's a factor, and these kids are getting paid, and obviously they deserve to be. But it almost feels like it may be too much of a factor in some instances where you could be in a good situation that could elevate you, could bring you to another level, and you could get more looks, and your likelihood of becoming a pro could be higher. But in the short term, if you want to and need to provide for your family, like you gotta follow the money, for better or for worse.
It's true. And some of these guys, like they need money now. Like there's so many kids in college that maybe like we all talk about Ben Bentel, right? Like I think that's a good example.
Exactly.
And one of the reasons why he left, for the NBA. So I think the NIL kind of gives and can also take, because if Ben Bentel played now, there's no doubt he would have stayed in college and probably would have developed a little bit more, maybe would have improved his draft position for the NBA. But, from everything we've heard, it was like you get offered that kind of money, your family needs it, right? It's hard to pass up. And I mean, nowadays, right, you can make well over 6 figures, 400, 500,000, some kids $1 million. So it is an interesting, kind of landscape we have to deal with. I would like to see maybe some regulation, like with who's allowed to transfer. You kind of got to get like approved for a transfer. Like, I think that obviously if your coach leaves, that's a really good reason where you should be allowed to go into the portal. I think that like you could even look at if you're maybe a sophomore or a junior and maybe you didn't appear in like every game, or maybe you didn't get as many minutes as you thought you would, then you could like apply for a transfer, something along those lines, where we just don't have mass free agency every single year with literally like every player is considering entering the portal. And obviously if they feel like the market isn't good enough for them, then they won't, which I think like would be Rich Barron in this case.
And I mean, yeah, it's a free agency every offseason. Like, not only does Kim have to go out this following offseason and find guys to fill, Bensley's spot, Wes Cardet's spot, Jabri's spot, these guys that are going to be gone anyways because they're seniors or grad students. He obviously has to go into the portal or recruit and fill those holes. He also has to prevent other holes from opening up and re-recruit his entire roster up and down, which I think is an issue with college sports. But like, I think the whole NIL thing, the thought process behind it, I think was right. However, I think it might have been a little rushed as far as, like you said, there not being much regulation.
Definitely. Also, a lot of guys wouldn't want to sit out a year because you'd have to, sit out a year if you transferred. But obviously, with that, being gone, there's really not much stopping the players from finding the best possible situation. But the other thing too is like these kids don't know if it's the best possible situation. A lot of times, they're just getting the best paycheck, which again can't really fault them for that. Nonetheless, moving on, we do have a game tomorrow against, well, if you're listening on game day, it is today. It is versus Xavier, another winnable game. One thing I want to bring up is, unfortunately, I did predict that we wouldn't lose another home game. That ended against Creighton. So the home streak is over, sadly. But now we move and we try to, build on another one versus Xavier.
It was a nice streak while it lasted, Butler, Seton Hall, and Georgetown. I think if we're gonna get, obviously you don't know what Wes Cardet's status is, but I feel like this is the most, I'd say, even matched matchup we could draw in the Big East at this point. Xavier obviously having a down season for Sean Miller standards. Friars obviously having a down season. I believe the Friars are underdogs tonight or tomorrow night, Wednesday night. But listen, just show me some fight. Hold on to the ball. Don't get complacent on defense, and I think I'll be happy. If they just shoot the lights out for some reason and, they win, even though the Friars played good defense and held on to the ball, I think I'd be okay with that given where the season is now.
Yeah, no, I agree. It is tough. You obviously just want them to compete and build off of, performances. Obviously not going to, there's going to be some games we're going to lose, right? I'd love to see them win at Georgetown, I'd love to see them beat Xavier at home. I think it's a very winnable game. Obviously, DePaul at home, you hope to win that game. But without Wes, without Jabri, Kreist being a question mark, Barron a little banged up here and there. It's tough. It's tough. And we have, three guys, obviously Hopkins included, with Bryce, Jabri, and Wes Cardet, who, all kind of went down with injuries that we never really saw on the court. Obviously, Bryce, I know he landed a little awkward at DePaul. We all kind of saw that. But I personally, I'm no, orthopedic surgeon over here, but I don't think that was necessarily enough if the knee was in pretty good shape. So, I do find it a little weird. I don't know if it's something to do with, the training staff. Again, not trying to point fingers But it's definitely interesting, right? Where you have like it's not like we all saw Jabri tear his MCL. It's not like we all saw Wes Cardet get hurt, whatever his injury is. We don't know. So yeah, very interesting, and we don't really get all that much from Kim himself. So kind of tough.
Yeah, I think that's kind of what I was going to say. Is it's the frustrating part, I think, with all these injuries. Like, listen, you can't control structural knee damage or, you know, an Achilles or whatever. But what you can't control is the transparency. Like, I remember at the beginning of this year, we were talking about the return, and if Bryce Hopkins would come back, we didn't really hear anything, and we hoped it was a little bit of gamesmanship and not allowing their next opponent to game plan for that. Now that Jabri is missing time, or the rest of the season rather, Wes is missing time, Kreist has missed time. I think we're just realizing there's no transparency, and it's not like open and honest. Hey, this is what's happening. And I feel like at this point, and I don't know, saying I don't know isn't really valid at this point. Like, you have some of the best doctors or training staffs that money can buy. You're a legitimate institution with a legitimate sports program. You know the severity or lack thereof of an injury. And I think just from a fan's perspective, that is the most frustrating part, is going into every game, because I can guarantee you everyone's going to walk into the dunk Wednesday night and be looking at layup lines and warm-ups to see where Wes Cardet's standing, where Kreist Sandico's standing, where Rich Barron's standing, where Ryan Mila's standing, to see if they're warming up with the guys or they're standing over there with Bryce and Jabri in street clothes. And it's the lack of transparency, I think, that's the most frustrating thing with injuries this year.
Definitely. Yeah, it's never been like this. It's almost like it reminds you of, when we had a couple scandals, like we had James Still, Johnny Lacey, we had, Brandon Austin, Rodney Bullock, and it was all like very hush-hush because it was a legal matter, right? But these aren't legal matters. These are, injuries. And I mean, it's like the fans, I think, are owed a level of explanation. I don't know what that level is. I'm not trying to determine, what it is, but we pay a lot of money toward the program for, tickets, whatever, donations, NIL, all these things. And I do think that there's a certain level that fans should know. I'm not saying we have to know everything, but like, if hypothetically speaking, Jabri and Wes Cardet can get a medical red shirt and come back for a 5th year, I think some question marks will be raised as to like what happened.
Yeah, I'm not entirely sure if a medical red shirt for Jabri and Wes are even on the table. Obviously a guy like Jabri you'd like to have back, if that's even an option. I'm almost positive both of these guys are 5th-year seniors, or maybe Wes is a true senior.
I think they both played too many games already.
That's what I'm thinking is the cutoff. Whereas Bryce, a guy who's only played, 3 games this year, Eduardo?
I think it was 4, but this is Bryce's 4th year. I think Jabri was at Virginia 2 years and Georgia 2 years, and then I think it's his 5th year. And then Cardet, I'm not sure.
But yeah, I mean, like someone like Bryce, you can understand a medical red shirt because of the, I guess, minimum game threshold. Whereas Jabri and Wes have played, well into the new year, double-digit games at least for both of them. So I'm not sure exactly the ruling on that, but
so the ruling exists and it is black and white, but you can still apply. And if you plead your case well enough, then you can get approved for a medical red shirt, even if you passed the 16-game mark. And, I mean, Jabri and Wes, both have a lot of connections. I'm not saying like this is some massive conspiracy. I'm saying like I just feel that it's just odd that Jabri has, this lights out performance, 27 points, against St. John's, and then he he never steps on the court again for the Providence Friars. Wesley Cardette was just kind of starting to come into his own and being, pretty good, and he never steps on the court again for the Providence Friars. I'm not saying that will happen, but it clearly is a possibility. Additionally, Kim seemed very frustrated when they asked him about Wesley Cardette. They said, like, how close was Wes? And he kind of like frustratingly said, like, I don't know. So in my opinion, there's something more at play here that we just don't know. And I think it ties into Bryce and Wesley and Jabri. I mean, we've never had this level of severe injuries. And they could be all legitimate. If they are, someone has some questions to answer, though. Like, why did 4, if you count Creased, significant players in your rotation have massive injuries and barely play, when the season counts the most? I mean, we don't get any minutes in February from Wesley Cardette, Jabri, or Bryce Hopkins. Someone has to answer some questions as to why. There just has to be questions answered.
I will say, I think the key difference, because we originally talked about Wes and Jabri, and it almost goes back to the transparency thing. At least in Jabri's case, we know he tore his meniscus, I believe it is. Like, that is the clear-cut reason we have an answer. Jabri is out for the season, torn meniscus. Whereas in Wesley Cardette's case, we're just getting day-to-day. And it's been almost a month now of just day-to-day. And I really don't think that's the true definition, because at a certain point, hey, this guy's going to be out for an extended period of time, 2 weeks, 3 weeks. And obviously to see Kim's reaction in the presser, it's obviously concerning, but like, you almost question, like, what the hell's going on? Like we said earlier, behind closed doors, we have no idea what's going on. So the frustration and then the lack of answers, never mind with us, but with Kim not knowing what's going on. That is one situation where it's just a little fishy.
Yeah, I think Cardette-wise, I think they originally said he was sick, and then he popped up with some random injury, and now he's still out. So it's just really confusing.
That's correct. Yeah. He was sick, then he was hurt, then he played like he played like, I think that he got in the game and he played maybe like 6 or 7
minutes.
I don't.
Yeah.
Super weird. I mean, this is a guy who's one of your better players, and he should be starting. And he started the whole year, and then he's like sick, kind of hurt, right? Not playing. And dude, it's all just very, very bizarre. Never seen anything like this in not just the Friars, but college basketball or really any sport. Like, if a guy's hurt, he's hurt. If he's like, that's why to me, it just all seems a little odd. And you're right, Mac. Like you said, we did get a clear-cut reason for Jabri, and it was a torn meniscus. But we didn't see him tear his meniscus. I mean, at the very end of the game against St. John's, he was jumping up and down and totally fine. So either he tore it in practice, or maybe he kind of just did it and no one noticed, and he just finished the game. I guess that's theoretically possible. For me, I don't really I don't believe that. I don't buy that. I guess maybe, I'm having a tough time understanding. But same thing with Bryce Hopkins. I mean, this guy waited all summer, all year, all winter last year, rehabbed all summer, worked with the trainers, worked with the doctors, and then kind of lands funny against DePaul, and then plays the rest of the game like totally fine, overtime and everything, totally fine. And then we just don't see him again. He's just gone. it just doesn't seem right. Doesn't seem right. So,
Mhm.
Again, I don't have any theories, but whatever's happening is certainly not adding up in the slightest.
I think, and what's funny is I feel like we're starting to fall back into the trap that we kind of talked about at the beginning of this episode. Was obviously these were all, you know, valid concerns, but almost falling back into the trap of it's mid-February, we should be focused on games, and instead it's just full panic mode. You know what I mean? I will say, and obviously we're questioning the legitimacy of some of the injuries at least. I think there should be at least some attention drawn to the quantity of injuries, because that's something I don't think this is something I remember seeing on any Friars team in the past. Is like, oh, I'm sure almost every guy on this roster has had their name pop up on some sort of injury report this season, and I don't know what factor could play into that. If they're being pushed too hard in practice, or like you said, the training staff, or we just so happen to have a team with paper skin and glass bones. But the quantity of injuries is something that I think is worth noting too.
Yeah, I do agree with that. A lot of these injuries and kind of phantom injuries are interesting. It's just when you look at it, like first you have Kim complaining about like the dads in a press conference, then you have like him saying that Jabri like was having a tough time like very recently buying in. It just to me like there's just I don't know. I think there's just something going on, and I don't think whatever it is good. But yeah, the quantity obviously like I don't know if that's a training staff thing. It's obviously like as fans and when you're like in this seat talking about the team, I think it's natural to like want to blame someone or something. So I may be completely irrational. Like I think that it's just easy to like want to blame something. So there might not be any one or anything to necessarily blame. It might just be coincidence and bad luck. But like I don't know. It's just I saw Bryce Cotton play through injury after injury. I saw guys like AJ Reeves play through injuries. Nate Watson, Devin Carter played with a torn labrum like last year. So, I mean, either these guys are severely hurt or they just don't want to play through, whatever they got going on. So, and there's also a bunch of other possibilities, but yeah, that's kind of what's going on. So,
yeah, it just feels like, and you talked about the idea of a medical red shirt. It feels like the team is a microcosm of the fan base right now, where it's just like almost, kick the can ahead to next season, and we'll focus on next season when it comes. Like it's just, there's no sense of urgency. I feel like in the fan base, the team, you see it on the court, you see it on Twitter. Like it's just, I don't know. It's a very weird, concerning time to be a Friar fan, as much as that sucks to say, and as naive and just obnoxiously naive as I'd like to be about this team.
yeah, no, I know you're right. Well, I mean, I don't know if you guys have anything else to add. We do have something special in store for you guys this episode. We are going to do a little draft piece, a little Big East draft. Just kind of something to maybe anything but talking about the Friars. But before we get into that, I just want to kind of open up the floor to you guys. Do you have anything else you want to add about Xavier or Butler or anything at all?
Eduardo, you look like you unmuted for a sec.
I got a quick thing on the injuries too. This is not new for the staff. I know last year we had 7, 8 scholarship guys available during the end of the year. So it's just a ton of injuries the last 2 years, and it's just like questions everywhere.
Yes, I mean, so maybe that
You're
does lead into the pushing guys too hard in practice. if it's a common thing with the staff, or like I said, the training staff. So it's not like you just brought in 13 injury-prone dudes this year. Realizing it feels like a more internal thing.
Yeah. I mean, I'm after the show, I'm going to go back and look and see like how many games Wesley Cardette missed in his college career, and how many games like Jabri has missed in his college career. And like, I guarantee you, this is a career high for both of these guys. So, but as long as you guys are good, I think we can move on to the draft. Maybe get some draft music in there. Little NFL draft piece music.
I'll cue it right here.
All right.
Perfect.
Dude, Maggie's fired up.
All right, so I think
sorry.
So the thought process behind this draft is Big East players, just to get the ball rolling. You know, Big East tournament's right around the corner. Friars still have like a 0.1% chance. I think with as much shitting on the Friars as we've done in the last half hour, it almost feels right to just exclude Friars from this.
No, we got to include the Friars. I mean, it's a Friar podcast.
I'm not sure if they get picked, so it doesn't matter to me.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah,
that is true. I think maybe the only one that might get picked is probably Oswin, just because, like he's a center and he's having a good season. Centers are pretty scarce in the league, so yeah, I would say we could include him.
Cool. All right. How do we want to determine this order?
I went last time, so.
Yeah, I went first for last two drafts, so I won't be first this time.
Okay.
All right.
I went
then
second and third, I believe.
All right. Then, Mac, you go first. I'll go second. Eduardo, you get third.
Perfect. All right. I mean, as much as I thought there'd be an easy 101, I don't think there is. But I'm going to take the guy that's been in National Player of the Year conversations this year and take Cam Jones. Who, by the way, actually, I saw Big East posted a graphic today. He has the longest active streak in the country of double-digit games.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
Wow. Interesting. Didn't know that. That's awesome.
So purebred bucket.
Okay. Then I will go, even though I don't really love this guy, not like a personal thing, more like just his game, I will go RJ Lewis.
So I get 2 picks, right?
Yes, sir.
I think I'm gonna go a couple big men to get him out. I'm gonna take Eric Dixon and our good friend who needs a job, Ryan Kalkbrenner.
Yeah, I think those are the right picks. I was hoping Dixon would slide to me because Dixon's name was also on the graphic because he has the second longest streak of double-digit scoring in the country behind Cam Jones.
I would have taken Dixon first. I think he's the best player in might be in the country, but definitely in the conference.
Yeah, his 3-point shooting this year is nuts. Like his volume and consistency. Leb, you are on the clock.
All right, then I'll go Sorber.
Who, by the way, is a first-round pick.
Yeah, he's first-round pick.
Thomas Sorber is 100% a first-round pick.
He might go one. Please.
He might be the first. I think I fucked up not picking him first overall. He's that good of a player.
Yeah. No, you're spitting.
So I have back-to-back picks. And unfortunately, the 101 Thomas Sorber is gone. However, I think I'm going to go with a double guard action. I'm going to roll out Stephen Ashworth and Cam Jones. That's going to be my backcourt. As far as front court, I feel like we're running thin here on big men. Give me Zach Freemantle. He's doing well enough. He's made of paper and glass, but Zach Freemantle, he'll do.
All right. So I will go. What do I have? I have Sorber and I have RJ Lewis. Man, this is tough. Really tough. This is where it gets kind of hard. I'll go with Zuby Ejiofor. Big man.
Oh,
dominant force. I mean, a front court of Sorber and Ejiofor is pretty solid. You know, I gotta.
Yeah, I definitely slept on the big men. That is, I'm gonna lose another one. I'm gonna lose another friggin' poll because I slept on big men.
You still got Oswin. You can grab Oswin.
Fair. Good point.
You might win the Friar vote from that, though.
Yeah, I know. That is true. Actually, I think Mac's original point of keeping the Friars out of it might be a good idea.
Yeah, just get some unbiased voting.
Yeah.
Because honestly, I would pick Luke Fonts.
Yeah, you just do
If
Fonts.
I wanted to play nil.
Yeah.
That'll win the poll.
Hinkle Dick.
So
All
I'm
right.
up with.
Yeah.
Yeah, Eduardo, you got two.
All right, so I'm gonna stay big. I'm gonna take two big guards. One is, I think, one of the most underrated players in the Big East, Jameel Telfort, who killed us Saturday.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
And I'm gonna take Kadari Richmond.
Yeah, I knew you were gonna take Kadari, you slippery fuck.
Go Orange, baby.
General soreness.
Yep. All right, then. Man, I can't have two Hoyas. Because I do like Micah Peavy. And so I got Sorber, RJ, and Zuby. I can't have two Hoyas and two Johnnies. I mean, that's like I might as well have, two ISIS members and two Hamas members. This isn't much better, but I'm gonna go with Alex Taliban.
That's honestly the first. I was trying to keep track. That's the first UConn player drafted.
Yeah, correct.
Which took much longer than I would have expected.
I thought UConn was in the SEC, so that's my bad. I probably would have picked them.
Aren't they in the Big 12?
They're in the Big 12, yeah.
All right, so I didn't realize how much of a drop-off we were going to have as far as big men, and probably should have planned ahead for that. I got Fremantle, but for the time being, I'm also going to take a UConn Husky. Leb, I'm sure you're very fired up about this. Liam McNeely.
You know what? Fuck. I totally forgot about McNeely because he's been hurt.
Yeah.
He's a
UConn is just, I feel like, a night and day team with and without him on the court. Like, everyone was thinking UConn was going to slip up. Obviously, they fell to St. John's the other day, but, like, having him on the court, it's so weird to see a true freshman make that big of an impact. And now I feel like I'm glazing like a closet UConn fan, and that is not the case.
Yeah, be careful. Those allegations are tough to escape. I know. I know that.
We might just have to go with a small lineup, man. I think I got to take. All right, I'm between two. And I think if I want to factor in, size, take Micah Peavy, as much as that hurts.
Yeah, I mean, you got to. I would have taken him if I didn't have Sorber. But I can't have two Hoyas. Just doesn't work.
Yeah, one's more than enough.
Yeah, for sure. All right, I will go with Stevie Mitchell. Get some defense in there.
All right.
Leading the league in steals right now. Guy's a defensive mastermind. So I think if we're going for best all around team, right, you need a defensive specialist at the guard position. So I'll go Stevie Mitchell.
Eduardo, last but not least.
I need some shooting, so I'm going to go to Cincinnati. I'm going to take Ryan Conwell.
Ooh.
That's solid. Who puts a little fear in me for Wednesday night, I will say. Notably, no solo ball, who I thought was for sure going to be picked because he's been lights out too. All right, no, I'm done talking about UConn. I feel gross.
Wait, so are we done? Do we do 5?
Yes. Yeah, I have 5.
All right. See, I haven't been writing mine down. I just have.
Who'd you take? Kalkbrenner, RJ Lewis?
No, I don't have Kalk. I have RJ, Thomas Sorber, Alex Taliban, Stevie Mitchell. I think that's it. Is that it?
You take Zuby as well?
Oh, Zuby, yeah. Yeah, so I have 5.
All right. So we got our squads.
All right. Should we go back through one more time and take one Friar as your 6th man?
Okay, I like that. You want to go reverse?
3.
So Eduardo.
Yeah. There's 3 good Friars, like, in my opinion. Well, maybe 4,
Mm-hmm. All right, yeah. So we'll do Eduardo back to me.
Are we counting Hopkins this year or just in general?
No, Hopkins is out. It's about this year. Yeah.
All right. I'll take Jaden Pierre. Need another guard.
All right. I'll take Benz.
Oh.
I knew Mac was going to take Benz. So.
Oh. I also forgot to mention earlier because, side note, he put up 26 the other day. We didn't give him flowers against Butler. I just wanted to make a point to get that in the episode because he did light it up. He was another bright spot for us. He's been
that's true.
nails. He's been nails all year. I think he's been our most consistent player.
He definitely has.
However, given the size disadvantage on my team, I feel like I'm in I have to pick Oswin type of situation. So I guess we'll take Oswin.
You could go Corey. I mean,
yeah. My only guy over 6'8" is Zach Fremantle, and he's built like a house of cards. So I feel like I like to play it a little realistic. So I got to get some depth at the big man position.
Yeah, my team is gonna fucking bully your team.
Yeah, I mean I have Stephen Ashworth and Cam Jones, and not a big team at all.
All right, we won't put this on the graphic, but one more time through, Coach Mac, you start.
Oh, all right. I'm going to pick the best coach in the Big East, hands down, without a doubt. The guy who's proven it time and time again, a national champion, hands down, best coach in the Big East. Slick Rick Pitino.
All right. I will go with, oh man, I don't want to pick Dan Hurley, but I got to. I mean, if I can't make a joke out of this draft, it's got to be Hurley. He's the best coach in in the league, maybe besides Patino. I mean, Patino is a legend, but actively right now, Hurley's a better coach. So give me Hurley.
You would take Dan Hurley, would you?
Yeah, I know. I knew that was coming.
I'll take Shaka.
Now, here's the thing. Fourth coach next in line, I think it's got to be McDermott, right? I mean, some people may say
agree.
Miller, but I think McDermott.
I think it's pretty interchangeable 3 and 4. Like, I could have easily went McDermott. You definitely can make a case.
Okay. Yeah, see, I really like Shaka in that third spot. Maybe even second above Patino, just like the age thing. I think, that helps. But, yeah. But the top 4 coaches in the Big East are very, very good. And then the next tier, you have Thad Matta, Sean Miller, Holtman is okay.
Mm-hmm.
Who's the coach at Georgetown?
I'm not going to say either of those because that's a little bit of a. I mean, if you asked me last year, I would say Kim was in that middle tier, maybe even like approaching the top tier. Just based on public perception. And now you ask me, I mean, again, nothing against Kim. I think he can be a really good college basketball coach. Has he been this year? I probably wouldn't say he has been, but I think he could be, for sure. So
I think for better or for worse, Kim's best work so far has been in the offseason. And obviously you want his best work to be when the games are being played and it matters most. But the promise that Kim has showed is on the recruiting trail in the portal. Just as far as recruiting purpose, maybe not necessarily evaluation, but as far as recruiting, he seems to get the guys he wants pretty consistently.
Yeah. No, I agree. He's doing well. Going to be a very interesting offseason. It's going to be the biggest, we've had in quite a while. So.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Anything else we got?
Nothing over here. Go Friars.
One small thing.
Okay.
Shout out Friars Lax, number 20 in the country.
Yeah. Good squad. Good squad.
I saw some random
Shout out
lacrosse account is Rhode Island's catching strays from some random lacrosse account.
Yeah,
I saw that.
It's pretty ridiculous. It's pretty ridiculous.
Yes, Rhode Island's a real thing.
It's unbelievable. Just catching strays left and right.
Mm-hmm.
Never ends.
We can't win. Can't win over here.
Yeah. I know. Very sad. All right. Well, I think that wraps it up, right?
Yes, sir.
All right. Go Friars. Big game. Beat Xavier. And, yeah, I think my team's obviously the best. Really don't even think it's close. All right. Peace out.